I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Hubbardston Select Board on May 11th, 2026 at 6:32 at this time. And again, this is being digitally recorded, so everybody, as always, please be respectful of the various people that will be speaking and talking tonight. Anyone here for open session? Announcement.
Real quick, Memorial Day Committee is looking for people to march in the parade. If you're a veteran or a group entity that would like to march or ride in a float, please reach out to hubbardston250@gmail.com or the town clerk's office. She's going to get the first candidate.
And
Sorry.
computer not working.
You don't need that.
Okay.
Anyway.
No, he's still
You're-
still not seat.
Yeah, it's in the hot seat, yeah. You're right.
Good evening.
Straight on.
McGee.
How are you?
I'm Jeff Williams. I'm the chairman of the board. And if everybody else on the board would introduce yourselves, I'd appreciate it.
Katie, I'm vice chair.
Peter Walker. Nice to meet you. How you doing? Chris Borrego. Nice to meet you. Good to meet you.
I'd like to explain roughly the procedure we're going to follow with you and the other applicants as well. Each of us, excuse me, for the procedure tonight, each of us will have one question that we will present to you. And we want you please to be as detailed, specific, examples giving, if any, that you can, to the gist of the question. Don't be afraid to give us everything you got on that.
Okay.
Once the full questions have been asked, I'm going to ask the board, each one will have a chance, should they have one follow-up. You will have roughly 30 minutes of questioning, okay? But I always will want to follow up with you before we conclude. I will ask you if you have anything you want to ask us.
Okay.
With that in mind, I have the first question. As you may or may not know, a large portion of our budget, town budget, goes straight to the school. It's a regional system. Each year, the increase being more than our revenue, putting a real strain on our local budget. How would you work with the stakeholders and our local departments to create a balanced budget every year?
Okay, this is a great question, and it's an issue that a lot of towns face. A lot of communities that communities that I've worked in, we face this issue also, that the schools are growing at a rate that is faster than can keep up with Prop 2.5. The revenue growth in any community is going to be limited by Prop 2.5 and then sort of any other, state aid and new growth that you can sort of scrap together. And typically that's in the maybe 3 to 4% range. When schools are growing, I think this year it was at 7.5% at Quabbin. That becomes, it's essentially a zero-sum game. You have only so much that your revenue will grow in any given year. And when, say, 7.5% of the biggest portion of your budget, which I think they're maybe $6.6 million or so, when they're growing at a higher percent than you can afford, then essentially the town side budget needs to sacrifice somewhere, and that creates sort of a disproportionate balance that is a real problem. And so how to address this is to get on the same page early with the school superintendent specifically, with your select board, your finance committee, the school committee, and make sure that there is a sort of a meeting of the minds and an understanding that, while the biggest asset in any community is, are its children, the schools are probably the most important asset in any community. when they're growing at an outsized pace, that it is causing the town to, to sacrifice somewhere. And so, working collaboratively together early in budget season, working with the school, whoever's writing the budget, it's the superintendent, the school committee, et cetera, to collaborate and to create sort of an understanding of what the growth, looks like on the revenue side, and let them know, what sacrifices may need to be made if the schools are growing at a pace that is greater than the revenues can support. So, what we did when I worked in the town of Arlington, which was, created sort of success, was we agreed on growth numbers that they were going to grow, the schools and the town, that we were going to grow our budgets by each year. And so it effectively gave us a planning tool to say, okay, we're going to grow our budgets by a certain percentage. And how we did it with the schools was they grew their general education portion of their budget by a certain fixed percentage, and then the special education by a higher fixed percentage, because those costs are increasing at a sort of a faster rate. And then they pool that money together. Those increases blended to somewhere around 5% in a year. The town side, we increased our budget at 3.25%, and that just allowed us to plan for the next couple of years. And so it really made the relationship with the schools much easier. It made my job, planning the town's budget much easier, because we know what our growth is going to be. We know that we'll have the revenue to meet that number, and so it allowed us to sort of conservatively budget and plan for the future. And so we had a great relationship with our school department. It was very collaborative, and recreating something like that would be something that I would aim to do.
Very nice. All right, thank you. All right, I'm up next. All right, and this is about our municipal complex project here. Our plan is to have our municipal complex project presented at a fall special town meeting. Tell us the steps you would take to get a large-scale project such as this to be successful at a town meeting.
Yeah, this is a huge project, and it's gonna sort of define, what the town is able to do for capital for a long time. It's gonna sort of reinvent how staff and community members think about the town and how it operates. It's a very important project. What I would do first, walking in the door, is really try to wrap my hands around where do things stand right now. There are official updates that you can find on the website and such, but really talk to the sort of stakeholders that are involved in the project right now, the architect, anyone who's been involved in the sort of the design and phasing, and say, all right, where do things stand right now? Make sure that cost estimates are that were generated, recently. How recent was it, and how accurate are they? It'd be very important to make, we've seen construction costs escalate at sort of crazy numbers the last few years. Make sure the, $5.5 to $7.5 million numbers that I saw are still accurate. If they're not, all right, we need to figure out, do we need to redesign some portions of the project, or do we need to increase the budget? And that's like a value discussion that we would need to have. Get a real understanding of what does the project look like currently, okay? Then it takes an outreach effort, and it's sort of, we need to make sure that, everyone is on board with this project. We need to start a communication program where we're making sure that the public is informed on exactly what the project is, make sure they understand the benefits of it, the necessity of it. And getting out there in the months leading up to town meeting is when you would win approval of this kind of a project. It wouldn't happen just in the sort of the day or days leading up to or the night of town meeting. It'd take a collaborative effort. It would take all volunteer boards to be on the same page. I understand that the design passed town meeting with a really large margin, which hadn't happened in the past. So it feels like there's momentum right now. And so making sure to be able to build on that momentum and carry it forward would be really important. The town deserves to have a building that they can be proud of. And so, making sure that someone is able to shepherd this project forward, who sort of understands, large capital projects would be paramount of importance. So,
Thank you.
sure.
Yes?
I'm next, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. There's talks of NBTA coming to Gardner, which will make us an NBTA adjacent community. Tell us how you navigate the implications of becoming an NBTA adjacent community.
That would present an interesting set of challenges. With, becoming an MBTA adjacent community, you would then need to look at becoming, you have to look at the MBTA Communities Act and how we may or may not sort of reach the threshold that the state is requiring communities to and so really what it comes down to is, what does your zoning look like? Do we want to be zoned in a way to have, to allow for certain housing, areas where we're promoting more housing growth, more density? That's essentially what the state wants you to do when you're to be compliant with the MBTA Communities Act. When we went through this in Arlington, when I worked there, it was a, sort of a very intense discussion at town meeting. It was multiple nights, 3 hours each session, so it was a long discussion. And so it's something that I do have experience with. It comes down to, what does the community want to see in their, like, what do residents want to see? You would want to have a plan that makes sense for your community. You don't want to necessarily open everything up to development. You also don't want to necessarily shut the door on, all the grant opportunities that come with being MBTA compliant. And so it would take an honest conversation with the whole community. You'd really need to look at where you may want to accelerate or limit growth. And then, you'd really just have to do the work and have the conversation. It would come down to a planning effort, a pretty serious communication effort on behalf of the town. You'd need your volunteer boards involved, a number of different boards. Obviously, the select board would be sort of front and center to that. But there, a big zoning change like that would create would have a ripple effect through a lot of different areas in town. And so, and different boards in town. And so having that kind of, like a all hands discussion is how I would want to handle that. It's created a lot of challenges across different communities in different ways. And everyone has handled it differently. And so, finding what suits Hubbardston is what we would want to do. We wouldn't necessarily want to just take a cookie cutter approach. Figuring out, really doing the work, and figuring out, what works for sort of your residents here is what we would want to do, I think.
Thank you.
Alex, how you doing?
Good.
Good. I got a question here. I'm going to ask. What would be your targeted economic strategy that respects our rural character?
Yeah. Sort of a similar vein to the MBTA Communities Act. You really want to grow your community in a way that makes sense. Rural character is something that you cherish, and you wouldn't want to just say, all right, we're going to sort of open up everything to the highest bidder, and we're going to start building everywhere. You really want to be smart about how you throttle your growth. One way that you can do that is through smart capital planning. Whenever you're going to make an investment in roads or infrastructure, think about what sort of impacts development may have on that, or how you may impact development with that. Meaning, do you want to create capacity for more development when you're doing these sorts of projects? And so you take a holistic look at your community, where does it make sense to maybe add more development or at least open up the opportunity for it? Where is off limits? Where are areas that you definitely don't want development? And so, this is not a question that any one person can answer. It takes a whole community to be involved. The select board needs to be front and center in that conversation, representing residents, and then, really it comes down to what do you want your community to look like? I mean, the extra revenue that comes from economic development is great. It opens up other opportunities, but at the same time, inevitably things change when you have development. And so it comes down to a question of how much change are you willing to accept or do you want? And it'll sort of work itself out that way. But being smart with your zoning, being smart with your capital planning, those are strategies that I would employ for that. And how you budget, your capital budget, those sorts of things. Those really speak to sort of the priorities of your community. And so when we're looking at capital planning, we would want to say, all right, this is this is where we may want to increase some development. We may want to sort of see if things will pop up in a corridor, and so we're going to treat those appropriately with more capital spending. So it would take a long drawn out conversation again. You want a lot of people involved, different boards, town meeting, that sort of thing.
Good, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Are we going in order, or?
Now it'd be like a follow-up.
yeah, now, it'll be follow-up, so we can go back. Do you have a follow-up?
Do you have a follow-up question that you
I
want?
do. So you spoke, Alex, earlier about Arlington and how you just grow their budget for the school. What did you say, 3% you had to grow the budget?
It was 3.5% in one portion and 6.5% on the other, and so it
So when you said,
blended.
can you expand on grow their budget? How did you grow their budget, the town of Arlington?
Yeah, so what we did is we had what we called a long-range planning committee, and we worked together and agreed on a number that their budget would grow to, just like the town. So we're saying that we're in a room together, the superintendent, their finance, their assistant superintendent, town manager, deputy town manager, some school committee members, some finance committee members, select board members. So we have a big group of people that are in the room together. And we say, this is what we think that the community can afford. And everyone, it becomes a negotiation at that point. And the end point of that negotiation are growth rates for both the municipal budget and the school budget. And so the school budget, the outcome was that it was these different sections of their budget were going to grow by certain percentages, and then the town's budget was going to grow by a different number. And so, what they did with that money was, up to their budget writers and the superintendent and, sort of their priorities within the school department. But, is the group that was in charge of sort of raising revenue, projecting revenue, and, we have a shared destiny in that we share sort of one pot of money, like from the taxpayers. And so, we worked collaboratively, and it works really well there. It's a great system that works for them. So that's kind of how we did that.
So when you say the town's gonna grow their budget 3.5%, how is that gonna happen? Just organically, or are you gonna pull some levers to increase revenue to make the budget grow?
Yeah, so our revenue numbers in Arlington, we had a really strict 5-year financial forecast that we sort of lived by. It was like a financial North Star. And we had a conservative number that we targeted for growth. And that had, our 2.5% levy growth. And then in addition to that, we had new growth, from development, construction, that sort of thing, local receipts that we project that would grow by a certain, percentage each year with sort of a number, each one had its own little lever that we could look at trends and we could forecast up or down, generally up. And so we would look at all of our sort of sources of revenue, and we would build to a single bottom line number. And so that would tell us, okay, next year, our total revenue pot is gonna grow by, call it 5.5% or whatever it is. And then that would then allow us to grow our municipal budget on the expenditure side and our school budgets on their expenditure side to meet that number. And so that was how we did it, was sort of through a sophisticated sort of projection vehicle, which is, really a sort of really huge spreadsheet with a sort of a number of different components that go into building it. But that's how we target and build to those numbers. And it's, the sort of conservative projecting and forecasting principles on the revenue side never let them down in terms of, all right, if we're planning to grow into this number, they'd never miss their targets. And we never missed our targets in terms of what we could grow our expenditure side on.
Thank you.
Peter, yeah,
Can you skip me?
I have
please?
one, if that's okay.
yeah, but-
Peter just said skip him.
Skip you?
Skip me for now, yes,
Okay.
please.
All right. Mine is, everything you pretty much answered, all has to do around long-term. Say you get this job, where do you see all of us sitting in 3 years?
Hopefully in this room in a fully completed project, right?
Yay!
Yeah. What does success look like in 3 years? It's hard to sort of measure success in these jobs sometimes, but, we want consistent performance. We want to be able to look back and say we did what we said we were going to do. We want to look at happy, thriving staff in town. We want to look at residents who are happy with how things are going. I want to see a board who's happy with my performance. And so to do that, it takes, sort of a culture of, hard work and accountability. And it's two-way, like when I'm working, with staff, I want them to understand that my success is tied with them. And their success is tied to me in a way sometimes also. And so, we do have this sort of shared destiny and, working together to set what our goals are and our expectations are, and then being accountable to those goals is important. Setting them together and then saying, okay, this is how we're going to achieve these goals, and then looking back and saying, all right, did we actually do what we said we were going to do? And if not, we need to say, okay, where did we come up short and how do we fix those issues? And so, in 3 years, this project hopefully will be done. We'll have seen, we'll see what happens if the MBTA comes. We'll have to deal with those problems. And so, this is sort of how this life goes is, we deal with problems as they come down the road. And there's, in the sort of 14 years that I've worked in municipal government, no day has ever been the same as the one before it. And so you never really know what's going to happen either. And so, being dynamic enough to deal with these issues as they come, to sort of reshuffle the deck and prioritize, your to-do list based on sort of which fire is burning the hottest. Those are sort of how I see the next few years going for me.
Okay.
Peter,
So, back to the school. As you probably well know, they take 61 to 62% of our total budget. We don't have a huge budget, but it's creeping up due to the school, obviously, as what they're taking. New growth is kind of shy in this town this year, especially. There's not a lot of forecasted new growth, unlike Arlington. You know what I mean? I know you went into it a little bit when you talked about the school. Can you get into it a little more on your negotiation part with the superintendent and everybody else? And we have 3 school committee members or 2?
4.
So we have 4 committee members. I think every town has 4.
No.
No?
No.
It goes on population.
Yeah.
But anyways, so we're still a small voice usually when it comes up against the Quabbin Regional School District, because this town is very unique in that we don't have much commercial at all. Our surrounding towns have a ton of commercial, and we don't have a lot of commercial, so we don't have a lot of commercial intake, tax-wise. So can you expand on maybe a little economic development, little how you would deal with the school a little more, please?
Sure. You know, it would need to come back to sort of a relationship with the superintendent who in the school committee, but you know they're the ones who are really driving these sort of these large percentage growths, right? And in a perfect world, everyone would be able to grow to exactly what they needed, and it would be great. We'd be able to fund everything that everyone needs, but you know, unfortunately, the reality that we live in is that we have limited resources, sort of across the board. We need to make difficult choices on where we put, you know, our limited resources for our budgets, and so you know, come down to relationship building with the school superintendent. You know, making sure that they understand that you know when we're growing at these percentages that are higher than our revenue growth, what that is doing to our budgets on this side of the ledger. Now, trying to make up for it on revenue, you know, it's a tough question when you have, you know, when you have rural character that you really don't want to sacrifice. You know, these are sometimes at odds with economic development, and so you know, finding a way to sort of get into balance with, you know, where you want development, you know, where you want to pursue economic development, how much you want to pursue. You know, you need to create the conditions for that, and then you know, the market in theory will take care of that development. But you know, it's a really tough question and a tough situation when you you know, you don't want to open the full throttle on economic development, but on the other side of the coin, you really need that revenue in order to meet these goals that you have and these sort of needs that are coming in from the schools and you know, on the municipal side as well. Like you said, you know, we have a budget that we have to take care of here also, and like the town has needs also, and those can't continuously be sort of sacrificed because of the sort of the growth of schools. And so, you know, making it a partnership, working together. You know, I understand there are 5, I think, towns in the regional school district here. So, you know, what do those group meetings look like? You know, who's involved, making sure that, you know, the towns are working together to advocate, you know, for themselves. That's important. You know, and when I worked in Hamilton, we had a regional district, and we had these meetings with, you know, ourselves in Hamilton, the management there, Wynnum's management, and the school superintendent and finance people, and I found them to be really beneficial. And you know, we were able to work together. We had similar problems there with the schools that were, you know, outpacing the growth. I think it's probably naturally happens pretty much everywhere, but you know, it is a zero-sum game, and you know, you only have so much new growth that when the schools are growing by a higher percentage, then the town needs to come lower in order to meet that equilibrium. And it's a real challenge that we have to deal with on the town side in government. And so, you know, working together, collaborating, making sure that they understand, you know, what we on the town side potentially may be losing. You know, that's where the hard work is in those sort of, you know, you forge those relationships through that hard work. And so that's how you arrive at those sorts of decisions and understandings.
Thank you.
I have one that's a little lengthy, but let me read it to you. Just as some quick background, over the last 6 or 7 months, we've experienced turnovers, both at the top as well as within the staff that you would be working with. We are relying on your experiences, not just short-term, but long-term solutions. For example, financially speaking, which your resume shows you have a very strong background in. One of the things that we have discovered over the last 6-7 months, for example, past accounting and bookkeeping records needed have been, had the need to be brought up to the present day, and a lot of work has been put on that. We have an excellent, an incredible staff that you would be inheriting, so to speak. Accountant, assistant treasurer, the office people, they go way beyond the call of duty. But they are relatively new to us, as you would be. Consequently, they're going to need the leadership, guidance, and teaching on your part to help them with their confidence as they're learning more and more about the problems that arise that need to be fixed, areas that have issues, things that are broken in need of new solutions or new ways to go. So what experiences and resources do you feel that you have at your disposition that could help complete the task with with the staff?
Yeah, the staff are sort of the lifeblood of like how a community can function, how a town hall functions. I've found in my experience that every municipal staff in general that I've worked with has been excellent, hardworking, smart, dedicated. They're in public service for a reason. And so, I would seek to, honor that, commitment that they've made to serving the residents here. I would seek to, model the sort of behavior that I've found has led to success where I've worked. Lead by example. Be a very collaborative partner in everything that I am seeking to do with the staff. Where our shared goals may be, make sure that I'm giving them every resource that we possibly can give them to succeed. Promoting professional development is very important to me. Like sending your treasurer to municipal treasury school, that sort of thing. There are conferences that are very important to attend, I think. And so, I would encourage all of our staff to go to their relative, we call them kind of like their trade groups, so like the Municipal Management Association. There are different sort of sections of that. So for municipal managers, there's the MMMAs, conferences, and you go and you learn. You see what other people are doing, find how they're solving the similar problems that they're facing. And so, each sort of segment of municipal government has these sort of trade associations and trade groups, and I'd look to get our people trained up as much as they possibly could. The state has resources, so the DLS, local services, they'll come in and provide training. And so, seeing where I think that that may be beneficial, and talking with the DLS, bringing them in for training. They offer regional trainings, that sort of thing, so sending people to those. Really making sure that our staff feel like they're getting the sort of training and expertise that they need to perform their jobs well. A lot of municipal work is learned by doing. And so, working with our neighbors, working with staff that have expertise that I've worked with in the past, asking them for favors. I'm sure that they'd be very willing and able to help, to teach people. Anything that I was able to teach from a finance perspective, which, I'm fairly well traveled. And so, be able to help teach that as well, not just do for somebody, but teach them, and they'll learn and they'll gain expertise as they sort of, work through issues. But you can't just flip a switch and somebody's automatically trained. It takes a lot of work and a lot of time. And so, that's how expertise is built, is over sort of doing it over and over and over. And especially in like municipal finance, with my background, everything's cyclical. And so you do everything at least once a year at a certain time of the year. And, once you get through a number of cycles of doing that, all of a sudden you're very comfortable doing it because you've done it, 7 or 8 times. And so, with, the treasury and accounting, the assessing, those are things that have that sort of seasonality to it. And so with new staff, there's definitely going to be some discomfort there because there are issues if you don't do things the right way with the state. And so, we need to make sure that we are comfortable addressing those issues, and that will be sort of that would be how I would want to deal with that. You know, really wrap my hands and head around what sort of resources do we have here, because nowhere has sort of unlimited training resources, but figure out where you'll get the best impact and best bang for your buck in the first year, and then, you know, move from there and find out what is working, what isn't. You know, anything that's free is great. You know, one thing that we do in municipal government that I think is great is stealing from your neighbor. You know, when they do something well, take it. Don't try to reinvent the process. Take what they do and learn from them. And so we don't always need to reinvent, you know, how things are done. And so, you know, look to where they're finding success and ask them how they're doing it. And, you know, I've found that people are always very willing to help out in this sort of line of work. So it's been good.
Thank you very much.
I'm impressed you were able to answer all that while all this nonsense is going on with the owl. And
Try
still
not to
keep
be
us
distracted.
straight.
Yeah.
This is what we're recording with. and,
Yeah.
Yep.
Welcome to Hubbardston.
Thank you for all of this. Now, so we'll throw it to you now. Do you have any questions for us?
I do. You know, I did see that there was recent turnover in staff and recent hires, and so, you know, what's your, as a board, you may have individual opinions, but what's your assessment for where staff is at now that it seems like maybe over the sort of, I don't want to call it a crisis time, but, you know, where things were making a bunch of hires. How do you assess where things are at now that we're into the spring, you know, and we're on the cusp of the end of the fiscal year and the start of a new fiscal year?
Well, personally, may I jump in, and the rest of you can if you do want to. Personally, I would say that we have an excellent staff in this sense. The camaraderie it's a great team. And they all seem to enjoy what they're doing. But as I indicated in my question to you, they're in a learning process because of what they've inherited. None of which was, let's say, anyone's fault or their fault, especially some of these problems go back many years.
Right.
Were just discovered, so that all of a sudden this is what we're asking, for example, our accounting team and the treasurer to deal with. But as far as how they work as a team and the degree that they do much more than they're actually expected to do, we were very fortunate.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I would say, should you get the position, you would be getting a very, very good team at the outside, but that are eager to learn and will do anything you ask with the help that they obviously need.
We have
Anyone else like to-
we have filled all the positions except for the TA. This is the last
Okay.
on the group. We have managed to get through it all. A lot of good hires, so now it's just making sure they all have what they need to succeed properly. They're more than applicable people that we hired. Christina was the last one that we just did, and
Congratulations.
yeah, but they're all good people that have the qualities that we were looking for, and they can definitely all succeed if they're given the right amount of training and help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Dave, I'll just expand on that a little bit. That was a great question. They go above and beyond here because it's just what we have to do on such a tight budget. It's not that we don't have the bodies in the position that we had a year ago. We had the same bodies, but with everybody being new, they all work together well. Every chance I get, you know, I let them know how well they're doing. So positive things from our staff right now. I mean, throughout the, you know, all the department heads, everybody's gone above and beyond to get us through this little rough patch we've been going through. So dumpster fire, yeah.
Okay. What else?
Do you have any,
I've got to
well,
cut it short.
does he have any other questions?
Yes, do you have any other questions, Rick?
Lots of questions, but maybe in the interest of time, we'll keep them sort of succinct here. So, what is the top sort of 3 things that you guys are looking for out of your town administrator in the first 6 months? So we walk in the door, what needs to be addressed immediately?
Well, one of the first things is, and we touched on it a couple times, is the school budget, right? I mean, fiscal year is coming to an end here, and we're gonna start a fiscal year up here soon, and we're negotiating a rate increase. They've come here twice now, with their number, and we've offered up a number that we feel we can support, and now the back and forth begins, right? I mean, the first thing is to get that to a number that we can sustain and is sustainable for the town and sustainable for the school. I mean, every year we go through the same situation. It's the elephant in the room, and it's just, I'm gonna say it's somewhat adversarial. It is, you know, it's, we always seem to come to a number. There's a little bit of give and take, and we always seem to arrive at a number, but, we've gotta get that out of the way. We've gotta nail that. We've gotta plan our budget and plan our future to accommodate the number that we end up paying them, and try and leave something left over for the town.
I would say also, in no particular order, but the major, to answer your question, within 6 months, you're sitting in it. We have a committee busily at work with architects, etc. Point I'm making is we will be dumping it in the lap of the TA and ourselves to present it at a fall town meeting. By presenting it, we want to be able to hopefully sell it and get the support, and that would be one of the major things that we put in your lap, and from here to there. And you touched upon it briefly in terms of some of your answers, in terms of getting the people behind it, selling it, because, and to your point that you made in one of your answers, and the committee certainly has taken note of this, what we are being quoted for prices now, we can't say, well, if the town says, well, hey, let's talk about it 3 years from now,
Right.
it's going to be that much more.
Right.
So that's what we're facing. So that I would consider that's one of the major things that would be dumped in your lap too.
One thing that I've seen over the years is that no matter how much something costs today in this line of work, it's always costs more tomorrow. Always, even how
Guaranteed.
even though it seems things are so outrageously expensive in public construction, and they are, but you need to weigh the time value of money, where, money's always more valuable today than tomorrow. You should always be attacking the things that are the biggest priorities now, if you can, so.
Okay. With no disrespect, I'll give you one more question, then we do have to cut it.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem. So, sorry, I wrote my questions down.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. Where is the FY '27 budget? Where does it stand right now? So next year fiscal year, right? So,
Dumpster.
okay, yep. So,
We're hopefully going to have a manageable, and I use that term loosely, manageable budget that is going to be presented to us on Friday,
okay,
that will probably spend every single cent that we will have.
Most
Yeah.
recently, we've had to, and they're still trying to cut additional 200K.
okay.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think it was down to 75 this afternoon,
Oh, okay.
but still, that's,
That's where we're at.
Yep.
yeah,
It's that time of year. It's tough. It's crunch time right now, but
Yes.
yeah.
yeah.
So, okay. Okay, I'll be watching Friday.
Well, thank you.
I don't know if you're gonna, first of all, I don't know if you'll be able to, because we have IT from Howell, but, well, not IT, electronics from Howell, let's
Yeah.
just put it that way.
Thank you very much. We appreciate
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in.
applying and meeting you, etc. Good luck.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you, thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thanks.
And we lost Peter to the, I'm almost shocked.
Okay, Allison
Yep,
Mitchell is next.
yep.
Did Leanne ask you if you were on the right Wi-Fi? When she, because Liz texted me and said, are you on the right Wi-Fi? Or like the most updated Wi-Fi, I guess, I'm not sure.
Which one is it?
I don't know.
You tell me. Dealer's choice.
One of them.
Yeah, I know, seriously. I know Leon's probably like losing her mind. I want to hear all of it.
I know, they both are actually.
What's that?
They're probably losing their mind. They just want to watch the questions and answers at home.
Who's this?
Leanne and
Oh,
I don't even. Oh, Liz is on there.
YouTube in a day.
Yeah, he'll be on YouTube tomorrow. I'm sure of it. No,
Well, they're just trying to get this back
Maybe
running real quick, so I mean, I guess.
that one's more important than any of our others.
The hour's not working?
No, the owls and shops.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's here.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready. But I know you get text.
So next up is
There was no
Allison.
camera
Yeah.
last week.
I'm sorry?
There was no camera last week, the fourth.
everybody got an idea how we're
No.
doing this now?
Yeah.
Recorded off the other.
Oh,
I don't know how that
How long
went.
was
Oh,
that?
Yeah, it's
That's why I limited
It's
it.
set
No,
up.
I mean, I just couldn't make it in there, so if I
Yeah.
could see, so I was like, ah.
Yeah, we're fine.
No, I was recording.
Okay.
Television, Lancaster.
Allison Mitchell
Makes
is
sense.
the next person coming in. We'll do exactly what we did before.
Yep.
My notes on her.
It'd be the next packet.
No, mine, I made
Oh.
notes this afternoon. Okay. Next one. Good evening, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Want to introduce ourselves? I'm Jeff Williams, I'm the chairman of
I'm gonna come
Select
say
board.
hello, if you don't mind.
Allison, nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you.
Katie, I'm vice chair. How
Nice
you
to meet you,
doing?
Katie. Good,
Peter
how are
Walker,
you?
nice to meet
Hi,
you.
Peter, nice to meet you. Sorry, my hands are a little cold.
That's-
Yeah.
Chris Brady, how are you?
Good, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I told you she should have just came down and watched it in person.
Technical difficulties.
Oh, always.
Always, that's
Welcome
all
back,
right.
Mr.
That's, welcome to anywhere.
I know.
Well,
No worries.
I'll go over the procedure. we're
Yeah,
gonna
that
be
sounds
doing,
great.
And then we'll kind of stretch it while we wait for Chris to get back.
Perfect.
Essentially, each of us will be asking you one question.
Mhm.
And what we would like from you is to not be bashful, shy, in the sense, I want you to be as detailed, specific examples, etc., anything that you can draw upon. Don't hesitate to throw that out to us.
Excellent.
At the end of the questioning period of the four of us, I will then ask the board, and each one will be allowed a follow-up
Sure.
question, should they have anything. After that, I will ask you if you have any questions for us.
Sure. Great.
Okay?
I love it.
And thank you for coming.
Of course. Thanks for
I have
having
the
me.
first question.
Wonderful.
As you may or may not know, a large portion of our budget goes straight to the school department.
Mhm.
Each year, it increases more than our revenue increases,
Mhm.
which puts a huge strain on our local budget. How would you work with the stakeholders in our local departments to create a balanced budget every year?
Yeah. it's challenging, right? In most, if not all municipalities, there's a real sort of town versus school, headbutt. And in a regional district, it's even more so, right? Because you aren't in the same room consistently with the superintendent, with the administrators, because you're not in the same town. But in a regional district, you also have an opportunity to collaborate with the other towns who have the same stake, right, in this school district with you, to work collaboratively towards solutions, hopefully with the school district. I think it can be a challenge when a superintendent is trying to work independently with 5 different towns to come to a solution that works for the district, for all, in this instance, 7 schools, and for all 5 towns, right? In theory, the towns are very similar. Some of them are similar in size, a lot of them similar in rural character, but each community is also looking for something different that I think needs to be able to be said at the table, but in a way where it's heard. I've thought a lot about this. Obviously, I know the Quabbin Regional School District. I live in Rutland, so I know that school district. And I've worked in towns that had their own school districts, so I've had a little bit of experience with all 3 situations. My guess is the next step is for the administrations of these towns to come together and collaborate on a plan to work with the superintendent, not implying that hasn't happened yet, but in such a way where it becomes very clear that the stakeholders are all right here on this side of the table, and we need to get to some sort of an agreement.
Sorry.
That's right. The assessment, right, I saw it's, as you said, Jeff, it's going up faster than your revenue is going to increase, and that's not going to stop, right? Insurance costs are through the roof, and school districts, and listen, I love schools, right? I have kids. I appreciate what they do. I appreciate how well they take care of their staff. I think it's incredibly important, right? We need educators. We need paraprofessionals. We need these people. But we need to be able to afford to keep them. We don't want our towns or our communities also to wonder every year if their teachers are going to get laid off because what was presented in terms of insurance coverages, salaries and teaching contracts, we don't want those things to become so unmanageable that every year as a community, we're worried that we're going to lose our educators. And I think that's a bigger, longer term picture in terms of the work that needs to get done. It doesn't get solved in 6 months. It doesn't get solved in 1 year. It doesn't usually even get solved in one budget, right? Even teaching contracts, all the contracts, they're 3 years. So if you're in one, there you are, you're in it for 3 years. But if you're doing the work collaboratively as those stakeholders, as those 5 towns, and you're doing it in such a way that when you go to the table with the district and you say, we've talked about this, we've decided these are our priorities, and we're here to talk collaboratively and constructively with you to find out how we can get to the same place. I think that's the start, You also have to hope that then everybody's ready to come to the table, including the school district. And that's another issue altogether if they're not. But there's a reality that the school district is here to exist for these 5 communities. Without these 5 communities, what is the school district? So I think there really has to be a lot of emphasis on collaboration and constructive collaboration and brainstorming. And sometimes some of those meetings are, closing the door and saying, we're at our wit's end. We have to figure out what we're going to do because we can't do this anymore. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it can be a bit of a process. But I think all the towns are probably in the same boat, so I would assume that they would be interested in some sort of collaboration like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, the next one is me. All right. Our plan is to have our municipal complex project presented at the fall special town meeting, which is this building.
Yep.
Tell us the steps you take to get a large-scale project such as this to succeed at town meeting.
You have to sell it. you have to sell it from the bottom up. And I know that as a community, you've been selling it. I know that the committee's done so much great work on it. I know that it's something that the community as a whole knows that you need, particularly these projects when they make such a difference for public safety, and when people are seeing how constrained public safety is now with what you have. You've lucked out a little bit when that happens, because you say, great, you all know that what we have is not adequate. Now we're going to move into something that's adequate. But what you have to sell usually is the scale of it, obviously the price. And it can be really challenging to sell the current residents who are going to see this start to come onto their tax bills as something that they need to think about now to last 50 to 75 years. I think sometimes that's the hardest sell. When you're putting together a large-scale building where you have bays that need to house, equipment that costs $500,000 or more, you need to make sure that you've always got enough bays for that equipment. The last thing you want is to build out a municipal building and be missing a bay for a ladder truck or an ambulance. And then in 15 years, even in 5 years, you might think, why didn't we put that extra bay in? But sometimes that's the first thing you cut, right? Because you're looking at space, you're looking at cost, you're looking at things like that. I think that's the biggest challenge, is making sure the community understands that what you're building and the cost of it has to last 50, 75 years. And that what you're doing is you're thinking forward in that way. And the marketing comes from all different areas, right? You need to have information sessions, but we all know people can't always show up to information sessions. I think I have really loved the Facebook videos that you guys have been doing in Town Hall, but I think it's really something that catches someone's attention. Even if they don't stop and watch the whole video, they can see that, and I know, Katie, you've been in them, so they can see that that you're committed, and they can see what is so important about this video and the message that you're giving. But it's not just info sessions and Facebook videos. It's making sure you're out talking to the community, getting to the senior center, getting to these groups that need the information, but you have to go to them. Admittedly, right now, I don't know about all the groups in your community, but that would be one of the first things in your, building marketing plan. Who do I need to go talk to make sure that not only do they know why we're doing this, but I need to know what their concerns are. I need to make sure I answer their questions. I need to make sure they know that my door is always open. Marketing a project for a community's lifespan is a really huge deal. No matter who you are, right? Whether you're the select board or on the committee or the town administrator. But if you really believe in the project, and admittedly, if you shouldn't believe in it, or it shouldn't go to town meeting if you don't believe in it, then you should be able to sell it. And I do think that sometimes municipalities fall a little short understanding how important the selling of it is. But you're selling it because you're passionate about it, and I think that's really important. And that would be a huge priority of mine, to make sure that I would do the project justice by getting out there and informing people the way they'd like to know about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know. My mind's working. You smell the smoke?
Yep.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, how are you?
All right. Here's my question. There are talks of the MBTA coming to Gardner, which will make us an MBTA adjacent community. Tell us how you navigate the implications of becoming an MBTA adjacent community.
There's so many fun parts about your face says it all. No. Well, the first thing is, and for good or for bad, there's a reality that as an organization, as a municipality, when something is on your doorstep, whether or not you like it, if you just ignore it and you don't plan for it, you're not doing yourself any service, right? So there's a reality that this is looming. This is why you've asked the question. At some point, this may happen, and it's happening to all towns, right? I live right next to Holden. I think we all know Holden's not happy about it. So, and you don't have to be happy about it, but as a municipality, I think you have to take almost a parallel track of planning, right? You can be opposed to it, and you can say, we don't think we like it, we don't think this is a good fit for us, we don't think this kind of development works within our community, our infrastructure doesn't support it, we don't even have our building with all of our bays yet for our equipment. There's a reality that those developments may be coming to communities faster than the communities can support them. And it's okay to be opposed as a community. And if a community's not ready for it, I would also be opposed. But I think as a community, you'd be doing yourself a disservice if at the same time you didn't also plan, well, what if it's coming whether or not we want it to come? And so in this community, I think it would be important to do the work of saying, well, if we absolutely had no choice, where could we support, these multifamily and multi-unit developments? Where could we? Right? I know that you guys have pits of sand that you're interested in doing something with. What you're doing with them, nobody knows yet. Is that an option? Maybe, maybe not. If these developments are coming in, they're going to need connections to water. They're going to need infrastructure. They're going to need sewage. Where is that a possibility? Even if the work feels redundant and burdensome, because at the same time you still want to say, but we still don't think we're ready for it, I think it's important as a community to be ready for it by saying, well, if we're going to have it, I think it's got to be over here. I think this is the connection. I think this is what we have to plan for, so that no one's coming in and telling us what we have to do at some point. Because inevitably, whether it's the MBTA or whether it's a developer who wants to throw up, a 40B because Hubbardton's not in safe harbor yet, whether it's any of those things, at some point, someone's going to be able to come in and try to put more houses where maybe the community's not quite a fan of it. But if you, as a community, prepare for it and do the work, sometimes simply because you've done the preparation, you can say, well, look, we looked. We don't have anything for that. We don't have a water connection. We don't have a way to support this. Are you, developer, going to come in and connect us to Gardner? Great. Then come on in and have at it. And we'll tell you what meetings to show up at, But if you do the work as best you can ahead of time to be ready, I think you're just doing your community, again, sort of the most service by saying, we know what it would look like if it came here, and this is your best bet. Or, go ahead and try, but you don't even have water, so I don't know what you're going to do, But for good or for bad, I do think communities that are completely resistant and just don't take the time to do the what ifs are going to just find themselves in a bit of a predicament, because at some point someone's going to say, we don't care, we're coming. So that would be my sort of plan, a parallel track of no, but also what if? Let's figure that out.
Allison, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Chris?
Fabulous.
Good.
I have a question here for you.
I love it.
What would be your targeted economic strategy that respects our rural character?
I love that. Well, first I'd want to find out what the community's economic strategy, what is this community looking to do? I don't think, as we just talked about, I don't think we're looking to bring in necessarily a bunch of multifamily housing units that our infrastructure can't support, right? But are we looking to bring in more retail and shopping opportunities? Are we looking for a grocery store? Can our infrastructure support that? I'd want to know what the community would want, right? I don't live here. There's a reality that when you start to talk about those bigger pieces though, right, like commercial sort of corridors, retail, again, a grocery store, like I said, I'm from Rutland. Everybody always says, we'd love a Market Basket. Market Basket doesn't want to come to Rutland. There's not enough people shopping at Market Basket in Rutland. But you start to introduce things like that, and it does affect your rural character, right? It does make you think, well, then people are coming into my town to go grocery shopping or to go do this. And I'm going to take a guess that most of Hubbardston, that's not the kind of economic growth that you want. Just a guess. If it is, don't be offended. I think Hubbardston is a beautiful town. I think it has tremendous opportunities for agritourism. I think that done responsibly, you as a community could promote, like I said, your open land, your forestry, your farms. There's a way to do it responsibly so that your side streets aren't taken over by people trying to take pictures of like one particular barn, which I know happens everywhere. Or you can hope that you don't do that. But I think Hubbardston is primed to become a community that really promotes its farming character. In my opinion, it's beautiful. I love driving through this town, but you have to do it responsibly, right? It's one thing to want to host weddings at beautiful barns. It's another thing to all of a sudden have a developer come in and build out a venue that holds 1,000-person weddings. Maybe that's what Hubbardston wants. I don't know. If it's not, you can still build out that vision in a more responsible rural way. That being said, you start going down sort of that path and you're still looking at infrastructure, water, sewer. There is a reality that there's real limits when you don't have the capacity to support sort of larger populations for larger events like that. But frankly, more than anything, I mean, I would want to know what the community is really interested in. And I know it's not just one answer, right? Every group is going to have a different answer. And I'd certainly want to know what the ideas have been sort of throughout history and what the hopes and dreams are. Maybe there are, hopes and dreams of Hubbardston becoming this, that, or the other once things can get into place. When I was in Harvard, there's one sort of main road commercial strip and it connects Harvard to Air. And it would be the perfect, they, as any town, right, are always looking for a bigger commercial tax base. Who isn't, right? That's all we want. And this would have been, and will be at some point, the perfect little avenue for a commercial roadway, really. But there's no water or sewer connection. So all the commercial is small landscaping, office building, nothing that's really bringing revenue into the town. And when I was there, and the TA, who's also no longer there, one of his goals was to work towards getting the water and sewer there. And it seemed really small. It's just water and sewer, right? Once it's there, you don't even know it's there. But it would, in 10, 15, 20 years, give that town the opportunity to build out a commercial little roadway with the character that matches that town. And so it's a reality for Hubbardston, right? If that's the way this town wants to go, whether, again, it's retail, whether it's events based on agritourism, whether it's a grocery store, whatever it is, I think it's important to have that vision, have those, I think I heard someone use a term once, a moonshot. Like, this is our moonshot. This is what we want if we can get there. And then start to build towards it, right? What does it mean to get to that place? Does it mean we need to go work on that water connection? Great, that's our project. Let's go find a grant. Let's go get it designed. Let's go do what we need to do. Let's talk about the consequences of what happens when we do bring water and sewer here. It really needs to be a bigger picture conversation. All boards, committees really have to work on what the consequences, positive and negative, are of going in any of those directions. But there's a reality that it exists if the community wants it. And what the community wants, I think, would be more important than what I would want. But I would be inclined to find a solution to whatever the community is looking for. I don't know if I even answered your question. Great.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We'll ask for some follow-up questions. You want to, as we did last time, would you like to?
No, I'll hold. I'll let someone else go first. no?
Okay.
I'll go first.
Go ahead, Peter. Thank you.
So, one of our issues in town, towns holding $1 million of taxable property in arrears right now. What would you do to see if we could cut that in half?
Sure.
What steps would you take?
Mm-hmm.
As lean as we are,
Yep.
you can't invest a lot.
Nope.
So, but you have to invest to make. So what steps would you take?
Step one is get your finance department, your treasurer collector set up with an excellent tax title lawyer and start to hack away at it. And I say that because in some capacity, at some point, the work can be done internally, right? The work for anything can be done internally. You give me a spreadsheet and I'll go through it. I'll throw the data in it. We have, in any capacity, in any town, in any organization, you have the people that can do the work. But if what's in front of you is $1 million in tax title and the people you have ready to do the work aren't particularly experts in that field, I think the first commitment you have to make is what resources, primarily financial, do we have to invest in making sure we get an expert in here to kick this project off properly. The work, the roll your sleeves up and get things going, I think, I would imagine even with a slim, finance department, I would imagine a lot of that could still get done internally, not to imply that, Liz is not going to get any sleep anymore because she's got to do tax title now. But, if you're going to choose where to save those resources, I would say, I think that this municipal staff, knowing the value of putting their heads down and kind of getting that work done, I think if they could work, again, with a tax title expert who has handled situations like this before, right? This isn't the first town that is going to be chasing $1 million in tax titles. So they're out there, they exist. Find the right one, do your due diligence, get the references, find someone who you've seen tackle this project before, and have them tell us, which direction to go and how many spreadsheets to start loading up. That would be, I feel like this project is super, super important, but I feel like it would be a big, let's get our heads down and get the work done. And frankly, I would also put my head down and get the work done because it's super, super important. And once it's done, in theory, it's done, right? You still have to continue chasing it, but once you get through that big sort of knot of yarn that is what you have right now, then you're just maintaining. You're not sort of trying to untangle $1 million worth of tax title. So that's how I would tackle it.
Thank you.
You're
Good
welcome.
answer.
My turn, or Chris, did you want to go next?
I can go.
Okay.
So one of the resources we have here in Hubbardston is water, right? A lot of our water goes down the river to service other communities, all the way to Boston at times. As far as I'm concerned, and a lot of people in this room are concerned, I don't think the state compensates us properly for, using our water.
Yeah.
What would you like to see, or what steps would you take to raise that situation in a town of our size, in a town with our revenue, that's facing all these economic challenges? How would you leverage that to help increase the revenue we get from the state for supplying water to all these other communities?
Yeah. Step one for anyone getting into this position here in Hubbardston is to go out and develop a relationship with our state legislature, right? That's, in general, when we need anything from the state in any capacity, you can't just go knock on the door and say, hey, it's us, it's Hubbardston, you need to listen to us right now. Part of this town administrator role is operations, is day-to-day. Part of it is making sure that you are going out and knocking on the doors that matter to Hubbardston and saying, here we are, don't forget about me, and this is what we need from you right now. And it's your job, state reps, state senate, to listen to what we're doing. There's a reality that it takes a while. It takes a lot of poking, right? It takes a lot of, hey, don't forget about me. It takes, what's your favorite coffee? And I'm going to bring it to you. It takes, do your kids play baseball? Mine do too. It takes a lot of finesse to get sometimes people to remember Hubbardston and that you're there to introduce them to Hubbardston. I think in turn, there's other towns that are probably in the same boat. In some capacity or another, and I would go back to the question about the schools. I think there's no reason not to start collaborating with other towns just to make your voice heard a little bit more. Going to the state and asking for anything it's a job in itself, right? Even if it's something you deserve, right? Hubbardston says, this is our water. If you want it, you need to pay us. But it's a job to get them to answer your phone calls and open the door and have a conversation with you. I would use all of my own, resources and chutzpah of sorts to get in there to say, like, hi, I'm new. I'm from Hubbardston. You've never met me, but we're going to have a meeting right now, and we're going to talk about my town. We're going to talk about this great town that I'm here to manage. We're going to talk about this great community that is really feels like they're not being heard, feels like they're being taken advantage of, and I want to work with you. I want to figure out how we can move ahead. I think in that particular case, with the water, I would definitely want to do a lot of work to understand the history of it, right? The history of how this all came to be. And I would frankly want to know about other communities that have either been successful or unsuccessful in sort of trying to get the same attention from the state in that way. Because I would never want to go and make the same mistakes other communities did, but I would absolutely want to piggyback off their successes. And I say this honestly, not having done this research yet, right? So I could say this to you and then go out and say, wow, no town's been successful, maybe we'll be the first one. But it would be a project in itself, which would encompass relationship building, marketing, research, writing a novel about the history of water going from Central Mass into Boston. But it exists. I mean, and I'm not ever going to be anyone that will stop knocking on someone's door just because they say, I'm really busy, go away. So coming around to the answer a little bit, I don't know. I mean, I guess it really comes back to relationship building, being able to tell the story and saying, you need to help us. I know that was a long answer. I'm sorry. I know, we lost it. But I would never stop knocking on the door, and I would build relationships. And I would get you your money. How's that? Is that good?
All right. Okay, we're gonna talk about budgets now.
See?
Let's
Get your
buckle
money,
up.
Katie.
Here we go. So a lot of what we've talked about tonight has been about budgets.
Yep.
And Hubbardston right now is trying our damnedest to get to the finish line with our budget for town meeting.
Yep.
We're hopeful Friday we will have something that resembles some kind of balanced, I use the word loosely, budget to be presented. But that being said, tell us about your budgeting skills and what do you know? Do you know how to build do you know how to build a budget?
Yes.
Are you able to wrangle the needs cross between the school,
Yep.
what the tax collector needs, what the fire department needs? Like, we have so many polls with such little piddly amounts of money.
Yep.
And we're always scraping the bottom. We're rubbing two nickels together at every chance we get.
Yep.
So tell me about Some of your thoughts. I hope you did your research.
I did. I did. I love budgeting, and I say that not because everything that you've just described is super fun, because it's not, particularly when it's a mess. What I really love is the transparency that can come with good budgeting. I am a bookkeeper at heart, so I appreciate very much line items that are broken down in such a way that as a department, if I said to you, you know, what's in this number? What's in this $1 million? You didn't just say, oh, I don't know. That's just what I got last year and I multiplied it by 2.5% because that's how I budget. And I'd say, no, that's not how we do this. I need to know what's in it. Not how many pens you bought. Roughly, what do you spend on pens? But the reason I think budgeting like that is super important is because, just like you said, when you're rubbing two nickels together, you need to know where you're spending that you don't necessarily need to spend, or where you're spending that maybe you have funds that you didn't use for 5 years, but because it was always in your budget, you just kept putting it in your budget. When we got to Harvard, I say we because the TA and I started within a week of each other, the budget was brand new to us there, right? Because we were both new in town. And so the best way for us to learn was to go through and vet each department's budgets. And it was kind of a new idea for them. And it's not to say they hadn't done it before, but the same way that we did it, we said, no, come have a meeting. We want to go through line by line, not because we think you're not doing something right or we don't think that you should be spending that, but because that's how we're going to learn what's in your budget. So we went through, we broke it down. We're like, oh, that's interesting, that's interesting. And I gave this example the other night. We went through one of the budgets, and just because we're all humans, the department head had put the same item in twice, just in 2 different lines. It was only $5,000, so it was $10,000 total. But had we not gone through and vetted just that small little, it would have been in there twice. Now, doesn't mean she would have bought 2 of them. That's not how it works. But that was a place where, again, at a time, we went for an override that year. That was a place where, great, $5,000. That doesn't even exist. It's not something we're actually buying because it's in there twice. I do believe that it's important to budget that way. I believe it's really important for department heads, for departments, for staff to understand what's in their budget. I believe it's important to have those conversations. Sometimes it's exhausting because sometimes they just want to say, this is my number and I've been doing this for 10 years or 15 years and I know this is what I need. You say, great, I believe that's what you need. Let's break it down so that we can see what's in there, so that when we go to the select board or the finance committee and they say, cool, but you need to shave off 20 grand. We know where we can shave off 20 grand. We know where we can kind of nitpick and say, maybe we don't need so many pens this year. You know, I hope we're not spending 20 grand on pens. But to me, that's really important. And then you're able to put together the puzzle that is the budget. But when you need to take it out and say, all right, gang, go back to the drawing board, you're not going completely backwards. You're not going back to someone's notes here that this is what's in theirs, or someone's spreadsheet here and this is what's in theirs. It's all there. It all exists right in front of you. You've vetted it. You've looked through it. I've done the benefits budgets, right, anywhere I am, because I was human resources. And I've been places where the benefits budget is one line, and it's just $3 million. And that includes retirement benefits, school, teacher benefit, all of it, $3 million. And to me, it blew my mind when I had to try to tell somebody, okay, great, next year it should be, 3.5. Absolutely not. I broke the whole thing down myself and built out spreadsheets with the data because I needed to know what was in that number, and I needed to know what was going to be in the next number. So that's why I say I love budgeting, because it is a puzzle that you can find every piece to. It takes a little while. In this case, in Hubbardston's case, I think it's taken a little while. It sounds like the interim TAs put some good things together, which is great, which is really great. But then on top of it, you build it, and then you have to also make sure that everybody understands why you built it that way, and everybody understands that we continue to build it that way. And then you work with your finance team to make sure that then your accounting and everything is being tracked in that way, so that when you go to do it next year, you don't find yourself going back to square one saying, oh, we have to rebuild this whole thing because we didn't maintain it. So it's kind of like the tax title project, right? Do the big work, get it where you need it, maintain it, and then every year, it doesn't mean the money shows up, the budget doesn't mean the money's there, but it shows you where it is, and it gives you a better chance of figuring out where you can trim it a little bit when you need to. Eventually you can't trim it all the time, but that's another question. It's another problem for another question.
I have one and I'll
Yep.
as quickly as I can. As you may or may not know, in the last 6 or 7 months here in town, we've had a large turnover from top to bottom.
Yep.
Consequently, we are relying on your experience as not just short-term, but long-term solutions. Financially speaking, for example, we have found over the last period of time that we're talking about, that there's been past accounting and bookkeeping records that go back many, many years that have never been brought up to date.
Yep.
We feel an incredible staff that are now filling the positions. They work way beyond what their job is asking them to do. They will do almost anything for you. Accountant, assistant treasurer, executive assistants. They are relatively new to us, as you would be. They're going to need the leadership, guidance, and teaching on your part to help them with their confidence as they're learning more and more about the problems that need to be fixed, areas, the issues, what are the ones that are broken, in need of new solutions, or ways to go. Question: what experiences or resources do you feel you have to allow you to complete the task, because you would be inheriting a new staff as well?
Yeah. I love people operations. I always have. I went into municipal human resources because I wanted to take my experience from the private sector in hospitality and use it in the public sector to make sure that the public sector employees that I could work for could be part of an organization that appreciated them, that took care of them, that made sure that their workplace was free of harassment, discrimination, toxicity, everything like that. In my cover letter, I made it a point to sort of list some non-negotiables, and those are really important to me. It's super important that a workplace be a safe place to work, both mentally, obviously, physically, but as humans, we need to make sure that when we come to work, regardless of what kind of day we have ahead of us, or regardless of what our department is, that we feel respected and that we feel valued. I went into municipal human resources because my husband is a career firefighter, and his own experience in the public sector as an employee was less than desirable. When my family and I moved to Central Mass, to Rutland, I was super excited to get the opportunity to be the first HR coordinator there. And it was literally because I wanted to get to a town to make a difference for the public sector staff, for the firefighters, for the police officers. When I got there, the first thing I did was take 5 loose leaf pages of personnel policies and turn it into an employee handbook. I did that because it was the task ahead of me. The town administrator already wanted it, but because I knew how important it was that staff be able to know how much vacation they were allowed to take. They needed guidance to know how the town administrator would be taking care of everything from discipline to performance evaluations to cost of living increases. We built that out to make sure it encompassed everything we thought was sort of lacking in terms of information in that in that community. But for me, it's the first thing I ever do when I go to a community or an organization. I say, can I see the employee handbook? And I want to see what's in there, and I want to see what's missing. And I want to ask the staff, how do you feel about this? Does this feel like a document that helps guide your employment? But that's only one piece of it, like you said. Having a new staff means that often they've already figured out how important it is to be dedicated, to be committed. They're obviously usually doing more than what their job actually is, because not only are they doing the job in front of them, but they're learning about the community, they're learning about the job, they're learning about the history of the position, what they need to know to succeed. And that's exhausting. And as the town administrator, as the manager of that operation, it's important that you're paying attention to each staff member to identify how they need your support on a daily basis, not just overall or general. And sometimes people need that support as someone who comes in the morning and says, how you doing? How was your weekend? You know, I want to hear about it. Sometimes the support is, you know, identifying and noticing when someone's done their job and saying, you did an excellent job on that today, and I really mean it, and I really appreciate that you've done it. Sometimes people don't want any praise at all, and they just want you to identify that they've done their job, and they've done their job, and you say, great, thanks for doing your job. So I think in this situation, I think it would be incredibly important for whoever's in this position to obviously meet everybody, but to really take the time to get to know them and get to know what their hopes and dreams are for their position here in Hubbardston. Learn about the difficulties, learn about what their sort of path has been here so far. Was it really challenging? Do you feel like you need more training? Do you feel like you need more help? How can I support you? The people are what makes any organization. The people are what make the train go. So to me, that's always a top priority, is how can I support my staff at all times? Without them, there's no point to being a town administrator. I mean, that's kind of the best way to answer it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I know, sorry, we're running out of time.
We have a little bit of time, because I would like to ask you if you have any questions for us.
I do. I have one question. What, in a word or two, are each of you looking for out of the next town administrator?
In just one word or two?
As many as you want, Katie.
That's not
I have two.
Okay, good.
Fiscal responsibility.
Love it. Good. Perfect.
Willingness to learn.
Town champion.
I like that.
That's a good one. I like
that is
that
a good
one,
one.
Chris. Champion.
Is there a
That's good
trophy
one.
at the end?
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Revenue provider.
Revenue provider. I like it. Yep. Need the money. Need the money. Awesome.
On
That's
that-
great. That's good. You covered all the bases, all of you. That's fantastic.
All right, then it's actually after 8. We thank you very much for being
Of
here.
course, thanks for
Pleasure
having
to meet
me.
you, and thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you all
Thank you.
very much. I know who's getting up.
All right.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you. Hey, have a nice vacation.
I know you're going to.
Yeah.
All right, this is. Yeah, go ahead, all 3 boys, wait in line. I don't understand, I'm the one that's had 6 children. Do you ever see me get up to use the bathroom?
I never see you drink. Why would
I, what do you think that is? I come with my own liquids.
Oh.
I'm not going to the bathroom.
Chris is like, no, I'm not yet, wait. Just giving you boys a hard time.
I don't think they always give you women a hard time about going to the bathroom all the time, right?
I can stand up and jump up and down right now and still be fine. You know? Which most women can't.
Good, how are you? Good.
Hi. Sorry.
Oh, so sorry.
Hi, Peter Walker, nice to meet
Lizzie,
you.
nice to meet you.
Nice to
Katie
meet you.
Young.
Nice
Yep.
to meet you.
Oh yeah, Chris Borrego. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Christina. Nice to meet you.
And Jeff is he's in the bathroom, he will be out in a moment, so,
We can wait, I'm
Yeah.
sure it's been a
sorry,
long evening.
he's coming. Here we go. I missed introductions. Your
Oh,
turn.
yes.
It's okay.
Jeff Williams, I'm the chairman of the select board. Those are-
Yes, it's Elizabeth, yes.
Yeah.
Everybody else
Listen,
introduced
yeah, we already introduced ourselves.
So now we're gonna wait.
Yeah,
wait for
well,
Peter.
you can start going over your
I
spiel
will.
in the beginning.
I will, yep. I'm gonna go over the format with you that we're gonna
Sounds good.
handle.
Sure this is off.
Begin with, each of us, all four, will have one question that we will be asking you, and we are asking you to, as I said, not to be shy, etc., be in your answer,
Okay,
be as detailed as you want, specific.
okay.
Give examples if they apply, and just whatever you can tell us in terms of that.
Okay.
At the end of the questioning period, I'll ask each board member if they have a follow-up question.
Okay.
If they do, we will allow each of us one. And then the last thing we'll do is ask you if you have any questions for us.
Okay,
We'll wait for Peter and then
All
we'll...
right, who's coming now?
okay, that sounds great.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, hurry up, put your buttons.
Excuse me?
Oh, look, you knocked over your bag and everything.
I'm all feet.
You're all just like messing everything.
I have the first question, so I gotta
Okay, sure.
get the material. Here we go.
I was trying to be.
Here we go.
Okay,
As you may or may not know, a large portion of our budget goes straight to the regional school system. Each year, they increase more than our revenue increases, putting a strain on our local budget. How would you work with the stakeholders in our local departments to create a balanced budget every year?
thank you. I understand it's a little bit over 60% of your budget that goes to the school district, and this is common, you know, in most towns and cities for at least to be over half the budget, which I think would be, you know, nice in Hubbardston if it was only half the budget, right? But the way that I would work with the different departments would be on a regular and ongoing basis, establishing communication with them early on, meeting with the finance team, so, you know, your treasurer collector, your accountant, and, you know, your assessor, and kind of understanding where we are along the way throughout the year to kind of you know, establish that connection. I also think it's important to have a relationship with the superintendent as well as you know, principals, just to also have them know, you know, who you are, even though, you know, there isn't a lot of kind of oversight on that.
Sorry.
That's okay. There isn't a lot of, you know, that wouldn't be the town administrator's part to, you know, you don't want to overstep. You want to stay within your purview, but also having ongoing conversations with the superintendent to understand where they're at. Because to me, the budget process is 365 days a year. And so you have to maintain that contact to understand anything that's coming along down the line. And then, you know, in the departments within the town, what you want to do is make sure that, you know, depending how you decide to build your budget, if you go to a zero-based budget and you have everybody start over from the beginning, you do have a lot of control because you can understand where your costs are coming from. You can separate your salary and your operational costs, and you can prioritize and kind of see where things are going from there. But if you decide not to start at a zero-based budget and you want to just balance the budget from the way that you typically have, and you want to say, okay, you know, 2% across the board in every department this year, that kind of thing, you have to make them aware of what you're up against and what you're trying to work towards, and how you don't want to end up in the same spot you probably have in years past, and just be open and honest with them about that. And so I think it's important to have, you know, constant communication. If you want to change something, you have to change the way that you do things. And as long as they're aware that that is the common goal for you, that they're going to maybe need to be some changes within the departments this year, but also, you know, maintain services, then you can reach that goal if you have ongoing conversation and your communication is constant. And so, you know, I think particularly with the school side of things, it is important to have a good connection and communication with the, you know, with the superintendent, just to check in and see where things are at without overstepping what your kind of jurisdiction is there. But also keeping the departments well informed as well, and keeping your finance team on a constant communication level with you as well.
Thank you.
I am up next. Hold on, let me flip my page. I know, carry up, get it together. Okay, sorry. All right. Our plan is to have our municipal complex project presented at a fall special town meeting, which is this building. Tell us the steps you take to get a large-scale project such as this to be successful at a town meeting.
That's a great question. I think it takes again, communication is just key. Being open, honest, and completely transparent with the process is important. It's one thing about you know, a town form of government is that the people from the town are the stakeholders when it comes to the case of something like a big municipal project. And so if, you know, we're here in April and, I'm sorry, we're here in May, and we want to get this, you know, roll something out into the fall and get a good solid presentation, you've got to start immediately. And you've got to meet with, you know, I would have to meet with the committee for the building and get up to speed as soon as possible, understand from them, being new in the position, what is the best way that you have found to communicate with the town, what has worked for you. I certainly have ideas that I would implement as well, but they know the people, you know, they're the ones who are here, they know what they'd want to see. And then as far as the information and helping this go towards to the town and having them be behind it, you have to provide as much information as possible, let them know how it's going to affect them in terms of what they're going to have to pay, how they would have to pay it for the financial piece of it and how we would build that in, what the long-term projections are of the project, you know, how they could, what the benefit would be to them and to the town beyond just any type of financial pieces of it, but what's really explain to them how it's going to make the town work more effectively and efficiently, to have the project completed in the manner that you're having it completed, and let them know that you have a hold on it, who the stakeholders are for the project, who's you know, who the engineers are, who the builders are, you know, whoever is involved in the project, who they are and how they're being communicated with as well, and really just get everyone on board in that sense. But I think for me, a lot of it is communication, and being new to the town, it would be a lot of FaceTime with a lot of people to start to understand what the best way is to talk to the people in the town and get that information to them, and how, you know, they best receive it. But also, what is this going to do for you? Because this is their town, it is their administrative building, or whatever the project is in general, and what is it going to do for them, and why is it the best decision for the town to make and to do it in whatever particular manner it is. And then also to let them know what the follow-up is after that. How can you find more information after today's meeting if us present this to you? Where do you go? Where do you know, direct your questions? Where's the progress of the project going to be? Where are we going to be able to see that from here on out to show that you fulfilled what you said in the meeting and that you're going to do what you said you did? And if there are changes, how are those going to be communicated as well along the way? To let them have the confidence in you and to trust you with their, you know, tax dollars and with their town, with their building and their services that they're getting, and how, you know, how are you putting your best foot forward? So I think that's the best way that I'd be able to present that to the town, and hopefully they would agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You got the order?
All right, this should be right up your alley. There's talks of MBTA coming to Gardner, which will make us an MBTA adjacent community. Tell us how you navigate the implications of becoming an MBTA adjacent community.
That's a great question. Well, I would, first, I would want to be sure that anyone involved was informed. So that includes the select board, that includes the residents of the town, and that includes the department heads and staff in the town hall. Everybody's got to understand what the MBTA Communities Act means, what changes it could possibly mean, what it doesn't mean, and what we would be able to be, without getting into all the technicalities of the MBTA Communities Act, but what the implications for the town mean, what type of grants you would be eligible for, and what adjustments we would need to make zoning wise or things like that to be able to be in compliance, and what that really means. It's been this topic that can be it can be scary for people, really, for lack of a better term. It's something that they're not, especially in more of the rural communities, because it can, when it affects a smaller town, it's like a big part of the town for them. You know, it's like, it really is. And so you want to be sure that everybody has good information. I'm going to repeat myself with saying communication a lot, but I found that to be really successful in anything I've done municipal-wise, is to make sure people have good information. And, you know, I would navigate it in a successful way to just be sure that that information was as consistent as possible, and that there was a plan in place to be able to comply with that if that was something that we decided that we wanted to do. But also be sure that the board was well informed on it, and had all the information that you needed to have. And, you know, also look at what other communities have done when they have gone into compliance with it as well, and what that has meant for their communities to give examples. I think that's something that can give some people an informed opinion on how they feel about a big change or a change to their community in general.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi Elizabeth, how are you?
Good, Chris. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
What would be your targeted economic strategy that respects our rural character?
That's not a good question. So a targeted strategy to keep the rural character would be, I mean, first I would want to talk to your, the town's economic development committee. I'd like to see what has been done in the past, what ideas are on the table for the future, what that's looked like before. I would definitely want to get public input on what resources are here and what people want to see and what they don't want to see. You know, the last thing you want to do in cases is present something or do all of this research and do all these things and just understand that in general the town wasn't crazy about it. It helps you to have that information ahead of time to learn how to present it in the right way when you do come up with something. And it doesn't mean getting public feedback does not mean doing whatever they say. It means taking that information, assessing it, and going, okay, we've got to do something, so let's figure out what we need to do and how we can present it to meet some of the hesitation here or some of the ideas here that just, you know, may be great or may not make any sense at all, because that also happens. But then it also helps you take the temperature of the responses to know how people might be really open to some changes and are totally afraid of other changes. But ultimately, when you know, talking like I'm using the Economic Development Committee as an example, obviously the Select Board is also a body I'd want to talk with as well, but that kind of targeted strategy would be to get information first about like what are people looking for, the community, and, you know, get a survey, get the information and compile it, and then I would look at what, you know, I understand, you know, that like 45% of here is like protected land, which is the beauty and charm of the community, but that also limits what you can do in terms of economic development. And so you've got to look at, okay, well, are there similar communities that have the same type of thing? Like in the district that I work in for Rep. Ferguson, she represents Holden, Paxton, Princeton, Rutland, and Westminster. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. They also have a very most of those communities don't have a commercial tax base. They're relying on property taxes and those kinds of things. They have limits for what they can do because of conservation area and land and things like that. So when you talk about economic development, you want to, you don't want to reinvent the wheel, but you want to look and see what other people have done in the past and how they can preserve their character and what types of businesses they've brought in and how they have presented it to their communities. And it doesn't all apply everywhere all the time, but it's worth doing the research. And so once you get kind of a feel for all of that, I think kind of that strategy from there is to get something, whatever it is, whatever one idea can possibly be, and bring it and, try to make it work. And from there, you can certainly build upon something like that, but I always think you have to kind of start with something, because then you can really build, you can show that you can do it, and then you can build the trust, and you can build the confidence in people that you're able to make something happen in the space that you're in, and that then becomes attractive to people. Say, okay, well, what can we do next? So I would start with one specific type of something that we could bring to the community based off of the information that I got that might be the needs and wants of the community. Try to match it as you can. Try to figure out what, sometimes everything's out or crazy things might be in that are never going to work here. And so you've got to, that really helps you figure out how to present whatever it is that you come up with, maybe a few ideas to start. But really work with the people who live here and know what's been tried in the past or what might not work, and, get somewhere with it. And also make a timeline. Okay, set up a meeting schedule, set up what your goals are and what you want to, what the goals of the committee are, and where you want to get down the road and where you hope to be.
Good, thank you.
Thanks.
I like that you recognize that we're a rural community, and most of our revenue is generated through property taxes, right? And there isn't much more on top of that. The one thing we do have is water, and we send our water literally down the stream to service other communities. And, the compensation we get back for that is really a pittance. It's nothing, and it's money we could use. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of us up here think it's money we deserve, more money we deserve. What would you do if you had the opportunity to raise that issue to the powers that be and champion Hubbardston as a community that needs more compensation for the water and the service we provide to other communities towards Boston?
I feel like someone's cheering for me in there or something. Chris, that's a great question. Honestly, I think in this position you are a champion in general, and so I think something like that, I have absolutely no issue with bringing something that is reasonable, that the town is passionate about, those are facts right there. I have absolutely no issue trying to come up with a strategy and bringing it to someone that can do something about it. A lot of the work that I've done at the State House with Rep. Ferguson, you learn a lot about advocacy, a lot about those channels and how to do that appropriately and to get answers with being professional, and also being reasonable at that level to be taken seriously, and really utilizing your time efficiently and effectively to talk to the people that will give you an answer one way or another, or to kind of lead, an effort. And so I would research the best way to do that, see what's already been done too, but also what can we do differently to try to get that message where it needs to go. Because, I'm well aware of how that works. I do think it is wild that we're right here, right? Like it is wild that is the case, but it's the truth, and it's interesting that it's acceptable. But that is the struggle out in North Central Massachusetts to get things done in places where there's a more populated area in the state. So to not get political, but to be passionate, I would say that I would be glad to look into whatever efforts can be made to or have been made to in the past, because I'm not familiar with all of it, to bring something back to Hubbardston. And if, in other communities that are affected by it, you strengthen numbers there. Be glad to form a committee, commission, coalition, whatever you want to call it, to be able to do something like that, with also keeping the level of professionalism that should be expected there as well. I don't like to call it a fight. I like to call it a movement. It's much better well received.
Well, I don't know if I like calling it a movement, but somebody else want to go? Because
Yeah.
I was going to segue into.
No, you're
That is your fault.
good or okay? Okay. All right, I'm gonna go next apparently.
Okay.
All right, so my question has to do with, we're gonna touch back on budgeting. In Hubbardston, a lot of the questions you got asked all has to do with money. It's a common problem. Every single year, we always have problems with money. School wants it, everybody wants it. We only have a little pile and constantly digging and rubbing two nickels together. How are you with budgeting, building a budget, being able to do, like you talked about, a zero-based budget and seeing where all the money, how to use our resources as wisely as possible to get to some level of a balanced budget?
Sure.
Like, tell us a little bit about your experience, your knowledge, and how you would do it here in town.
Thank you. So my experience from the city level is I'm very much have the oversight experience as city councilor. That's what we do. We're the oversight body, legislative body of the city. And so for me, I would, I haven't personally built the budget, but as chair of the finance committee and even as acting mayor, you have a very intricate part of looking at what we do for the budget each year. So I've run many budget hearings over the years to cover the departments within the city that the committees I've been on cover, and we have the department head in front of us and we go through every single item after the mayor presents the budget to us, and the school department also presents their part of the budget to us as well. And so here in town, what I would do is I would have a similar process with the department heads, and I do believe the budget is an everyday thing. You've got to have your eyes on it every single day. You have to meet with your financial team regularly, and I would call that, the finance committee, the assessor, the tax collector, the accountant. They're your finance champions, really, in the town, and you have to be connected with them to get good information. And so what is your process? What have we done? Where are we at? So if they say, I certainly present the idea of a zero-based budget for sure. I actually think that's a good thing to do every once in a while. And so not knowing the whole history of it, I would need to look to see if that made sense for Hubbardston. But when you start there, you really get to start from the beginning. You get to really scrutinize every single dollar. People have to legitimize every penny. So if there's $500 in this account for in this line item for office supplies, and so every year for years it just gets a 2%. After 5, 10, 15 years, it's like, what is this even paying for? Like, where is this money even going? And so we're in a tough financial situation. Sometimes it's good to just flatline it and have everyone start, because in that case you have to justify every single penny that you're putting in. You have to say this is what it's going towards, this is what it's paying for, and you're starting there. If you want to build off the budget that you have or what's worked in the past, that's okay too. But if I took that approach to it, because I wouldn't, I'd need to look a little closer than I've seen from your documents already, but I would want to, either way, we'd want to build up like 5 to 7 years of costs. Like what are the costs? Then you want to take out your salaries, you want to take out your operational costs, and you want to look at them and say, okay, let's break this down here. Let's just start here. So we got to pay the salaries. This is what this is. And then we've got to go in and look at, what our operational costs are. And once you've built up a few years of that, and you really want to do it incrementally. You don't want to do it all at once, because then you basically just end up moving money from this account to this account and compensating for things because you don't even know how much they cost. So you want to be really careful. If you do the zero-based budget piece of it, you want to be incremental anyways. But if you start from another area, you really have to be careful about any changes that you make and any scrutiny that you have. You really want to make sure you record it. And again, we want to see what our costs are going to be. So in order to balance the budget, I'd really want to make sure that I was meeting with the departments, giving them a timeline of what I expect from them to have back from them by a certain date, meeting with them all individually and talking to them meeting with the financial team and seeing, where we're at. And then working on it again week by week and seeing kind of what we have. And also, I would like to, go into any type of, like any type of grants or any type of other things they can do to offset the different kind of costs in their departments, and kind of talk about what would work for Hubbardston for that, because I'd want to know, like, what are you doing to try to, or depending on the department, but what do you do to try to offset any type of, expenditures that you have? Is there anything regular that you try to do to bring into the town, or do you not have the time to do it? Do you not have the resources to do it? You can get really creative with those kinds of things. And, any municipal agreements, things like that, or even outsourcing as well. A lot of times those kinds of things don't necessarily, sometimes municipal agreements don't necessarily save you money, but what they do is they keep you at your level service, or they make your services better. And that's important as well too. But also when it comes to grants, one thing that we did in Gardner that's been super effective was we talked to MRPC. We had them work out a program with us where we paid them hourly, and they gave us so many grants per month based on the number of hours that they worked. We also put out an RFP, and we did get a bid from a private company that we made a contract with, which worked for us, where we decided to do an unlimited number of grants with them per month for a fee. After 3 years, we said, okay, at 3 years, if we're happy and we're good, we'll give you can have 2 more years with us at this rate. And if you don't want to do that rate, then we'll put out another RFP. And that ended up working tremendously for us and ended up paying itself over. Like after 3 years of doing that, we had $50 million in grants. So that program paid for itself over and over and over and over again. But it was just like a creative idea for a way to get more money to the city, but that also affected the way that we build our budget, the way that we do things in our budget, because our departments could then be more creative with going, oh, well, we can now get this truck, we can now do this, we can take this off our capital plan, we can move things around. So to go back to your original question, balancing the budget is a long and everyday process. It involves an incredible amount of communication, record keeping, and making sure everyone's on the same page, because I think the goal for the whole town, all the departments, everybody, should be to balance the budget. Let's make this a thing for everyone. To me, that is, listen, it's hard. It's not like guaranteed, and Hubbardston is not alone in that, as all, I'm sure you're aware. But in the end, like a city, a town cannot close. It is a business. It needs to stay open, and people just seem to think they can just, they're like, well, the people just pay for it. It's like, well, no, that's actually not how that needs to work. We actually have to think a little bit differently about how we're going to do this. So the economic development piece, which has its challenges, and that's long-term, sure. But, immediately you can look into other things that, like, I said, even like some outsourcing, like those types of things, I think, go along hand in hand with balancing your budget. There's the work you have to do, the physical work, you're going to do those things. You've got all these other things also affect the way that can work for your departments. You just have to have somebody who's going to put the time, energy, and effort into doing it, and work with the people who have the talent to do that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Peter?
Go ahead. I'll go last.
No, his question's last.
Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead.
it's yours?
Yeah.
All right.
Is that one?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
gonna make one up.
Okay.
You don't have, if you don't have one, you have.
Oh, I got many.
He's got lots of questions. It's just which one does he want to ask?
So,
You weren't kidding, Seth. He said they're a fun group.
if you are the successful candidate to land this position, where do you see Hubbardston in 3 to 5 years?
That was the other question I wanted to ask.
Really?
Yes, I do.
If I'm the successful candidate to land the position, I see Hubbardston in a financially stable situation, that with, departments that have great morale, hopefully, there's no turnover, people are in their positions, they're happy, they want to be here, we all have a common goal. I see this economic development, we'll use that as an example, that plan in place and moving forward. I would like to see people in the town having confidence in their, the people who are taking care of them, so the select board and the town administrator and all of the departments, and really because really when you have collaboration and you have the people who are supposed to be taking care of you and taking care of your town and your tax dollars, all collaborated and on the same page and all together as much as you can be, or they show that they're willing to work together even if they have differences or sometimes different priorities that they have to kind of bring back together. If you can show that, that will ripple throughout your town or your city, 100%. Everything's not easy all the time, but it is to show that you have the skills to work through it and you're willing to do that for all of the right reasons, and you can give concrete evidence that you're going to do that consistently and you're going to do it in a positive way as much as possible. That's the type of thing that helps you get through tough times. That's the type of thing that helps you get that building, project passed. You've got to have a good grip on the information, on the organization, on the things that make sense. You have to be incredibly transparent, keep the people informed. All the information is public anyways. Find a way to get it to them. Make it where you can direct them to a place where they can get their questions answered, whether it's a person, it's a web page, it's something that's updated constantly, so that everyone's giving the same message and it's not just a bunch of talking back and forth. So like confidence within the community in 3 to 5 years. I'd love to see the building projects moving along as well, and really having people take ownership. I use the word champions a lot because I really believe in it. And so if you have a particular committee, like the building complex committee, you have them, like they're your champions. If things are moving along the way that they should and are really capable of doing, then you want to give credit to those people who helped move that along and to get that moving. But you really want to be in as healthy a financial state as you can be. You want to have a projected plan. You want it for financially where you're going to be down for a few years. And you want all that information to be known by everyone in the town. So, next 3 to 5 years, I'd love to see there really be a good feeling about what's going on in Hubbardston, about the people who are in charge of that and working together to do it, and to keep kind of the good spirit. It seems that in the community, there's a lot of, my feeling was, doing my research and looking into things, that there's a lot of people who are excited about a lot of things in Hubbardston all the time. There's the people who've lived here their whole lives for generations, and then there's people who move here because they like the charm of the area. And so I'd like to keep that, and have that be a sense of pride. I get really excited about these kinds of things. I'm a fourth generation Gardnerite myself. I had my great grandfather, came to the state hospital to be the superintendent, and then my grandparents met in high school. It's like those kinds of things. I've had to have really tough conversations with people that I adore. I've known them my whole life, or they knew my grandfather or whatever it is, and you have to deliver really tough information sometimes. But what I have found to be successful in my position in Gardner is they have confidence in what you can do because you just do it. You just say, listen, this information is going to be really tough, but it's important for me to tell you the truth. This is how this is working. This is why. As long as you're informed and prepared, you can deliver bad information in a positive way that is truthful. It isn't going to necessarily be the answer they want to hear, but just tell them that and deliver them what they need to know to say, so they know what to expect. Surprises don't work. So I would want that level of expectation to be here in the town, and also for them to know that their town administrator is going to be here and going to be, we can have some consistency, because I think leadership consistency is incredibly important, and I know that causes a lot of challenges for a town and for the staff and the department heads and a lot of other things, projects, all those things. So I'd love to be part of that positive charge.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I have one for you. I'll go through it as quickly as I can. It's a little lengthy. Excuse me. To begin with, as you may know, the last 6 or 7 months we've had a great deal of turnover here in town, from top to bottom. And so we are relying on your experiences, not just short-term, but long-term, for solutions, et cetera, and so forth. Financially speaking, for example, we've discovered over, just because of all the turnover and within our accounting and bookkeeping aspect, that there have been some problems with some of the records going back that just need to be corrected and brought up to date, et cetera. And we are very fortunate to have with the people that we've hired in this period, a great staff of people that you would be inheriting. These people, as I've mentioned before tonight, they're working way beyond what their job is asking them to do. They just show me the way, and that they will do it. We have an accountant, assistant treasurer, a treasurer, executive assistant, etc. They are relatively new to the job, as you would be. Now, that consequently, they will need the leadership, guidance, and teaching on your part to help them with their confidence as they are learning more and more about what the problems that come up that need to be fixed, what areas and issues that are broken, in need of new solutions or in need of new ways to go. Question: what experiences and resources do you feel you have to allow you to complete the task?
That's a great question. Well, I think one of my biggest experiences is that I have been a staff member. I've never been a town administrator before. I've been a leader, and I've been a staff member for some great leaders. Like, I've had excellent bosses throughout my professional career in the last 20 years. And so I have learned a great deal about how to lead from there. Also in my municipal experience as council president, acting mayor, and, you know, when I was acting mayor, it was during COVID. It was my second term as a city councilor, and I got thrown right into it. And in one day, I became acting mayor, finance committee chair, school committee chair, all in the same day. And so that was a lot during a global pandemic, you know, so it was kind of a lot. But it's like, just stay calm, assess the situation, utilize your resources, keep a good attitude, and listen to the people who know their skills. Coming into this position, knowing that there's a lot of new staff here, great, we're all in the same boat, fantastic. Let's acknowledge that. Let's see what we do know. What do we need to reconcile? Let's go back and look at what the history is. What do we got to do? You know, meeting with department heads and meeting with staff on a regular basis is incredibly important. And I think the biggest thing for me would be FaceTime, like face-to-face time, not FaceTime, face-to-face time with everybody as much as possible at the very beginning. I understand the hours that it takes and the time it takes to do that. Well, you have to get the regular work done, because not only do you have to reconcile all of these issues that you found that they've also inherited too, which is worth acknowledging to them too. Business as usual has to happen, day-to-day has to happen as well. So encouraging a work-life balance, encouraging time on and time off, and plan time on and plan time off will be important. But also, again, getting an idea of what has to be done and how can we get it done in a manageable time, and being able to have everybody help organize that, or show me how they've already organized it, so that we know that we're going to get to the end, what needs to get done. But my leadership style is very, I like to be open, I like to be transparent, I like to be firm but fair, and I like to be supportive. I trust that these people know what they are doing, and because they've been hired to do those jobs. I'm not the accountant, I'm not the assessor, I am not the assistant, I'm not those things, but I know that all those jobs are important because I need them to be able to do my job, and they need me to be able to do the job to help them out. So I'm very, I take that really seriously, because again, I've always had excellent examples of people who've helped me and led me, because I've always felt really valued in my positions, and so that's made me want to go the extra mile, stay the extra hour, do the extra work, and all those things, because I'm responsible for that, and that responsibility has been appreciated. So that's something that I would want to make, the the staff feel as well, is like everything everybody does here is important. Every single part of the machine needs to be oiled up and ready to go every day. And the way we're going to do that is if we look at the work that needs to get done and we accomplish it. And honestly, celebrate getting some of these things reconciled and done. Like, make a big deal once we fix the books from 5 years ago, whatever it is, like, let them know that, like, because it's a big deal and it is something that needs to get done. And after it's done, we don't need to do it again. We're going to make sure this doesn't happen again, right? And we're going to be the ones who did it. You've got to establish I like to look at the calendar, I like to see what's in front of everybody and when we're going to follow up and when we're going to meet again, so that they know that I don't like meeting just to meet. I like to have meeting in action and it comes from something, because then people know that their time is valued and it was worth doing. Let's have an agenda. Let's know what we're going to talk about. We're going to get it done. And if you're struggling and if you're having problems and if we're getting behind, let's just talk about it. Where are we at? How did we get there? Let's readjust the schedule, whatever it is. Again, I understand that that's a challenge and there would be a lot here, but I'm at the point in my life where I'm good to go. And I know that would be, I also would have, an opportunity as a first-time town administrator. So again, like kind of in the same boat as everyone else, being new to here, it would also be a new position for me, but I am ready to use the skills that I have and the resources I have, and to work with everyone to get everything done. I'm good at a good pause too. It's like, hey, this isn't working. Okay, let's talk about it, because you don't want to get way too ahead of yourself and have it just crumble. Like we don't want to do that. That's not where we're trying to go. So everyone have the same common goal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lastly, do you have any questions for us?
I do. So my question for you, I'll write it down, because I know I might forget at the last moment here. How would you, as the select board, describe like the first 90 days out of or whatever time you think for the town administrator? Like, what would you want to see, being where Hubbardston has been with their previous administration and the previous turnover, and where you're at today? Like, what would you like to see in the first 90 days to make you comfortable with me? Because we're going to have to work together if I'm in the position.
What are you looking at me for?
Well, you're looking at me.
I'm gonna look at you the whole time you're talking.
The board, anyone
Yeah.
like to
Yeah,
jump in?
I can. Very open and transparent with the staff in town. It's very important to keep everybody, and it works both ways, as you know. Just communication, very important.
Well, the first 90 days, that would be say whomever, we work out a deal, you think about it, it'd probably be like June, July, August. So June is town meeting, we gotta get through all that, elections, and then it kind of goes to a quiet lull where we start over again, because you got your fiscal year. So that gives you a chance to get your bearings. We do have Sean here until June 30th. So there is a little bit of a buffer, of a crossover for whoever gets the seat to at least get us through the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not sink or swim with like half-done things right off the get-go. So hopefully town meeting would be good. I'm gonna put it that way, good. The budget will be great. But working on financials, finishing up, getting some background stuff. That's right now our dumpster fire is the word I like to use a lot.
Okay.
Most of them are out. Not even gonna lie, most of our dumpster fires are out.
Great.
We're working so far ahead of where we were a few months ago.
Great.
But we've still got a little smoldering stuff going on
Sure.
that we need to deal with.
I understand.
So realistically, it would be dealing up with that kind of stuff in order to get a good footing to start a new year afresh.
Great.
That's my 2 cents anyway.
Thank you.
I would throw out this building that you're in. You're saying the first 90 days, basically, because you get the job, that we were going to have a fall town meeting where this project is going to try to be sold to the town. And so that would be something I think you'd have to jump on board really quickly, because you're going to be at the leader of it, besides the committee getting us through it, et cetera, helping us market it.
Mhm.
So that is one of the things that is important to us
Yep.
immediately, and will have a direct effect because we are going before the town in the fall. That's my point.
Okay.
Can you ask the question again? This is why I
So,
don't like to go last.
Sorry.
how would you describe the first 90 days for the town administrator? What would you like to see as a select board member?
What I would like to see is the new town administrator. You know, I think Katie just alluded to, hopefully when the new town administrator comes into the role, all the heavy lifting will be behind him or her, right? You'll be starting fresh, you'll be starting a new fiscal year. I think it's imperative, absolutely imperative, that the new town administrator understands our regional agreement with the Quabbin School District. I don't think Gardner is a regional district, is it?
No.
Well, there's a lot of nuances and ins and outs, and quite frankly, politicking, I will say, that happens amongst the 5 towns. And I think it pits us against one another more than brings us together. Because, you know, it's in our best interest to present a united front to the school district. It's in their best interest for us to not do that. And I just get the feeling that more and more, we're getting divided when we should be coming together. And it's the biggest part of our budget.
Mhm.
I've got a feeling that 2027 is gonna be a devastating number to the town. You know, I'm just hedging when I say that, nothing is in writing. But I really think the new town administrator would do him or herself a huge favor by learning the history, understanding the players, understanding the impact that the budget has to our town, understanding how our town representatives interact with the school committee members themselves, and wrap your head around what's been going on, what's happening across our 5 towns, and what we need to do, how we can work together with the school board to move forward and make it beneficial for both of us, because it's a common subject in our meetings, it's a common subject in our budget discussions, and, you know, you said it yourself, 60% of our budget going right off the top
Sure.
to the school is a big nut, and it's just something that's not sustainable. You know, it's gonna drive just it's gonna drive financial hardships.
Thank
So-
you.
We need to become familiar with that whole situation, and really wrap our heads around that as a group.
Can I speak to that really quick?
Go ahead.
So Rep. Ferguson represents 4 of her towns are in the Wachusett Regional School District, and 1 of her towns is in the Oakmont Regional School District. Wachusett has the same type of, again, I need more information specifically to Quabbin, but they have a significant amount of challenges. And the rep having 4 of the 5 towns in the district, we hear from all of our towns. We do, they host a stakeholder meeting in February. I've attended the last 4 years, either with Rep. Ferguson or on her behalf, and they want to hear, you know, from the state, and we talk about the work that we do at the state level for, obviously Chapter 70 and those kinds of things. But I understand the dynamic of the towns because they'll have finance committee members there, they'll have the town administrators, well, they're invited, they'll have, they'll have, those are the stakeholders they have there to like have this discussion. The superintendent does a budget presentation and they just do it to kind of get the information out there, and it is a very challenging discussion. It's a very challenging meeting, and it's one of those things where we attend, and then we also speak with the superintendent after if there's any budget requests that they have that we can do that can hopefully again offset the district's costs, because we're hoping that could trickle down to our towns. I've just wanted to make you aware of my experience with that. Whereas in Gardner, yes, we are standalone. That's it. We are not a district. But my work with the rep has it is a conversation we have every single year, and it comes up with the town. We talk circuit breaker, we talk overrides, and all these things. And it's just like Rufford, isn't it? She's the chair of the Regional Schools Caucus, and so we work with the Massachusetts Association of Regional Schools. I'm very well aware of their resources and what they do to advocate for regional school transportation. She's actually filed an amendment to try to get it to 100%, which can help the regional schools. So I want you to know that I understand how complex that is and why that is so important to the town. But like you said, having all of the towns hopefully get on the same page at some point. So I just wanted to speak to it. Thank you.
Can I just make a quick statement, just to add to this? So, as you probably know, Quavin's budget goes up every year, but yet population is declining in the school.
Right, so the enrollment...
It's not sustainable.
Enrollment is the issue, and I would say, so enrollment is the issue, and it's like how do we keep our services with the enrollment declining, and then like in Wachusett, it seems to me that it's more so like the enrollment's declining, but they're keeping the same amount of teachers, the same amount. Yeah.
There you go.
So I
All right,
understand.
well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Did you go to Gardner High?
I did. Yes.
Did Jeff teach you music?
No, I think you had my mother though. Yeah, I believe so.
I recognize the last.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think so, but
At least she didn't say grandmother.
No. But my mom. I think when you were first a teacher, you had my mom, because my mom
That was
is.
great.
There for 35 years.
Yeah, exactly. So I was gonna say I remember I had spoken with my parents, and she was like, oh, and I told them the select board, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I bet you though you had both my parents as teachers.
who are your parents?
One was Judy Babineau or Judy Marceau, and
Okay.
the other was Jim Kromowski.
Jim Kromowski. Oh my gosh, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and my mom knows him too. He was my
Yeah,
sixth grade.
actually, I think, my mom might have been Kromowski when she taught. There was a lot of last names, but I don't know.
No, Jim.
She got remarried a couple times.
No,
so-
he was my sixth grade teacher.
Yeah.
He was my sixth grade math teacher, yeah.
So what?
That's too funny.
Yeah.
That's too funny, yes.
Well,
Well, thank you all
Elizabeth.
very much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Drive
And
safe.
I will, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you again.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks again, you too. Thank
I'm
you.
with you, Jeff.
Thanks.
Yeah, so we go, well, you're sitting right by.
Nope,
Thank you.
you're shaking.
Thank you
Nice
so
to-
much. I
take care.
appreciate it. All right, nice to meet you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh,
That was beautiful.
Okay. All right, that's the last name.
Yeah.
I didn't remember her.
That's because it was mom.
Oh, now I found
Isn't it just?
Yeah, go down.
Hey, thanks, Chris.
May have to push up the top. There you go.
It's not working.
Sherry, can you see what the heat is there?
Oh, the window's open.
If we're gonna be talking.
Hold on, I gotta wait.
I don't wanna be shivering as I am right now.
That's
Don't
70.
break it.
It's not gonna, it's at 70. Well, it's probably because the window's been open, so
Yeah.
it's probably like.
Okay.
Smash it.
I know.
There you go. Oh, no. There we go. I'm locked. We're safe. We're safe. We're all safe.
What?
You sweating? Take off your sweatshirt.
That's nice.
That is a fleece winter pullover.
Okay, whatever.
That is not a
Sorry.
sweatshirt.
I was fine when the window was open.
Well, yeah, but Jeff's like freezing.
My hands are frozen.
You're frozen?
Oh, my hands are
Oh.
cold.
Obviously, we know it's jokes. Of that age.
This is still being videoed.
Are we adjourned?
No.
No.
No, we're
We gotta
waiting for
finish.
Jeff to get out of the body.
We gotta go through 6 and 7.
And go home and have a shot of tequila and a piece of cheesecake. That's what we're gonna do.
That's what you're gonna do.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Oh, that's gonna be on YouTube too.
I don't really care. Really don't care.
I'll leave you there.
I'll be after this. I'll be
On
home.
YouTube for tens and tens of people.
Yes,
to
by
watch.
tens and tens of views.
Okay.
My Towny Tip Tuesdays, here we roll.
You can come make the candidates feel comfortable. Why would they want to?
I
Just out of respect.
wasn't even trying.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Tomorrow's Towny Tip
Can't wait to
Tuesday.
see it.
Oh, I already got the video. Don't worry, we did that today. Now I just gotta edit it.
All right. Deliberations, discussions.
Not it.
What?
Deliberations, discussions,
Yeah.
Regarding?
the three candidates.
I thought we were gonna hold off till Friday.
Well, that's entirely part of the discussion here. If
I suggest we hold off till Friday to discuss candidates. So we can all do a little bit of homework and gather our thoughts.
suggestion has been made, is there any other feelings on that?
I'll second that.
I have thoughts, but if I have lots of thoughts. I always have thoughts though, so. No discussion at all? Nothing?
Feel free to start one if you want
Well,
to.
yeah, I mean, we can have a
I probably
discussion.
won't say much about it.
No?
I'm not prepared to make a decision in any way, shape, or form.
No, neither am I.
Okay, then we'll just save it then. I don't wanna get into a half-baked conversation and come back and try to rehash what we may or may not have thought on one day, because that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
If you two are totally unwilling to,
I mean,
or not, no, I can't say unwilling. I don't mean that like that. I
Why don't
mean-
you start
I'm
a
ready.
discussion?
I'm ready.
Well, no, if you're unready to make a decision or even go into a decision-making process, then starting a discussion today is kind of pointless,
Okay, thank you.
in my 2 cents. It's either we have a discussion, get to a point where we could possibly make a decision, but if there's people on this board that are not ready to make a decision tonight, then I think we should hold off on the discussion.
No, I would agree. I do have one thing that I would like to put out there, but I'm not ready for a decision either in that sense, but something that was kept going over and over in my head. I listened to all three of them. When we first formed the committee, coming from the board, one of the most important things that we wanted you to be looking for and felt that we needed was experience, especially in the financial aspect. All these things that we are definitely still in need of presently. It's not something that we solved and we can breathe. And so this is all still the thing that is working on in my head, is that key element of the experience that we felt that we needed, and the financial background. So that's something I've looked over the materials today. I went through each one twice, made some notes, but I need to have some time to think about it myself, to be honest with you. And again, on behalf of all of us, thank you both so much, and please thank the committee for yeoman's work. From 70 some odd applications to 3 in the period of time that you had to do this in. And I know you were probably hoping for a decision tonight, based if you're open, but
I don't care.
I do agree with.
I mean,
No.
we just thought we would,
Yeah.
whatever.
Their
the rest
work
of it
is
out.
done.
Yeah.
You guys
Right,
are done.
but, we vested interest and we want to just see how it's going to play out.
Well,
so-
that's, to follow that, I would hope you have Friday night available, because I would like to be
It's another
here.
Friday night.
Right,
Well, that's your choice. I'm
know.
just simply offering, it would be nice to have you here, not just to hear us, but you've gone through this entire process with everybody, so and to enlighten us on some things that we might have a question on.
Yeah, so I think I gotta give you four credit for putting together a very diverse committee. I think everyone brought together a specific skill set, and I think we had we were 74 down to, we narrowed it down to the top 5. We interviewed 5 people over 3 days. Very lengthy, lots of questions, dug deep, and the committee as a whole felt that these top 3 were the best fit for Hubbardston. And it's ultimately you four that have to decide what you feel is your most immediate needs for the town at this particular moment. So, good luck.
Appreciate that. All right, if this is the feeling, and it seems to be of all of us, then we'll move down to, could we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Well, wait a minute, I have a question.
A question?
When we discuss candidates and whatnot, is that going to be an executive session or
No.
is that going to be?
No, that's public.
Has to be public,
Public,
just as we were tonight.
yep.
It's not executive.
Only negotiation can be an executive
Yeah,
session.
when we hire in the process of hiring, then when we discuss contract and everything else, that's executive session. It's not an option. Okay, so that's the way it works.
Yeah, so we have to be mindful of how we discuss.
Okay,
Something's not settling with you.
no. Not at all.
Nothing that we can change in terms of the process, though.
Okay.
Okay? A motion's been made. Is there a second? To adjourn? No discussion? All in favor?
Oh, next meeting date is Friday.
Next meeting is Friday night,
Yeah.
right here,
6:30.
at same time, I
Yeah,
guess.
6:30.
Are you okay with that too, for you?
Mel will be here covering for me.
Okay, are we gonna be able to be recording? Assuming our equipment ever works.
Well, the camera works just fine.
Yeah.
At least something
I
works.
think Friday will be a quick meeting, to be honest.
Okay, thank you very much.